Hey everyone, my name is Tim, and once again, thanks for joining me on the kind of the monthly update of the monthly update we do. Now, some of you are going to ask, why do we keep doing these things? This is an opportunity for us to kind of bridge the gap. There are so many things that happen behind the scenes that every day in and out, whether it be finances or ministries or even events that happen. And my heart or our heart for this little segment is for us to kind of really bridge the gap so that we can kind of give you a peek on what's going on behind the scenes here at KC, because church, there's so many things going on. So if you're joining us for the first time, thanks for joining me. Hopefully this moves quick, but hopefully it's the same time it's relevant and it's useful information for you. If you've come here before, thanks for coming back. If you have any feedback, let me know. I'd love to make these things better. Again, the heart of this is really to bridge the gap between what happens here behind the scenes at KC and kind of what you see on the outside. So that'll be say, thanks for coming and showing up. So monthly update. First off, we had baptisms. We had baptism at Knuff Lake. So a couple weeks ago at Knuff Lake, we, as a church, we all got together for about 3 plus days, and we just did community together. It was such a great end off to the summer of Summer of Connections. And in that time, we had baptisms. Now, I wanted to really quickly just touch on baptism and why it's such a big deal. So if we go to Matthew, at the very end, Jesus makes the Great Commission. He says, go in therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe all I've commanded. And lo, I am with you always to the end of the age. This is such a big piece, baptisms. Why? Because we as a church are commanded to go and make disciples and baptize them, to make a confessional, a proclamation of faith, and then to teach them, to teach the word of God so in the journey of the believer. And so this is a huge milestone. We had a huge number of people this summer that were baptized, and again, we have people that are baptized at Knuff Lake just a few weeks ago. Church, these are things we're celebrating. Why? Because it's believers, it's the kingdom expanding, it's us reaching the gospel out, and for us baptizing people and teaching them. So church, it's so exciting to have baptisms. It's worth celebrating. It's worth rejoicing. And if you've ever thought about baptism or what it means, I encourage you to reach out. Reach out to the spiritual formation. So Pastor Tim or Pastor Simon or any of the pastors if you want to talk about what that means to be baptized. So, church, rejoice in the baptisms of this summer, and we're just looking forward to continually celebrating this as part of the spiritual journey of every believer. Okay, baptisms. Next, community care fund impact. Whoa, a lot of words. What's going on here? Church, we are a church on mission. We are a church who go out and make a difference. And these are all the ways this last year that you as a church helped those who needed help. So I just really wanted to get a breakdown. I saw this the other day and I said, we need to get this message out. So look, we have grocery cards, $20,000 worth of grocery cards last year were handed out. That's where people coming here said, look, the groceries are going up. I'm having a hard time making the ends meet. And we say, you know what? Here's some gift cards. Go and get groceries for your family. Such a blessing. I know Sandra and Simon deal with this on an ongoing basis. And it is such a privilege to be able to serve in that way. We had Christmas hampers. That was $18,000 this year. That's you as a church contributing to the Salvation Army and the Christmas Amalgamated this year, which were putting together packages for those in need in Christmas. We had rental assistance. Again, we're having prices of food and lodging go up. So we have people who said, look, I just need some help trying to bridge the gap as I either transition out of care or I need just to be able to make the ends meet. And so they come to us, and whenever I see these come past my desk, I need to sign them. And so I see them all come past my desk. And every time I sign them, I say, yes, absolutely, no problem. We just want to be able to help however we can. So that's $14,000 there. We have the E-Fry educational bursaries, and that is looking at single abused women who need help, who just need a hand up and be able to allow them to pursue and get on their own feet. So that happened this year. We had bus passes. Again, we have people who just need to be able to get through a period of their life. So we do bus passes. The period promise. This Salvation Army period promise, but it's actually supposed to say United Way period promise. That was $3,000. The Hope Well, Mustard Seed, New Fridge, Eagle Bay Camp sponsorship. Church, this is over $70,000 worth of generosity, which is incredible, and it means so much. This does not even include all the giving that we had for Ukraine. It doesn't include all the help and support that we've done for the Lackby family. This is just in our local community what you've done. So church, I just want to say thank you for the generosity. I want to say, Lord, thank you for your generosity in your church. And so as we continue on, let this be something that we are so overly generous, because he has blessed us, and we in turn want to continue to bless and know Jesus, but more importantly, also make him known in our community. So, Community Care Fund Impact, thank you, church. Wow, $70,000. Isn't that awesome? Okay. So again, I've had a few people come up to me and say, look, Tim, I don't understand this, or why do we do this, or why don't we do that, or why is there no parking lot with lines on it, or whatever. You know what? My job here is to kind of oversee the operations of the building and the staffing and everything that happens here. So I'm the guy to talk to. So if you see me in the hallway, or you see me anywhere, or even during the week you've got a question, come find me. Come find me, because I'd love to be able to sit and discuss. And if there's any questions you have, answer them. If you have things you want to see, on an ongoing basis represented in this video, let me know. We want to serve and keep you as a church informed. We're going to break, and we're going to have an interview with Dennis Bauhaus and just get to know kind of more about his role and what he does here at church. Dennis Bauhaus, this is a gift. And I know you thrive being here. I know you love being here. So thanks for joining for a few moments. And as I've said to our church congregation, I think what we're hoping to do is just kind of get to know more about you and your history and your past and how you got here and what are you doing and what's happening in 4 work days from now and what that transition looks like. So first off, thanks for being here, Dennis. And my first question to you is how long have you actually been at KAC?
It will be about 2 weeks longer than 6 years. I started in first week of September of 2016 was my first day here.
First day what?
Serving on staff here at KAC.
And what about prior to that? Because you've got a long history even before that.
Yeah, I finished about a week before I started here, actually. I finished a 36-year career in the RCMP.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving, by the way.
That was awesome. It was a great career. I had a great career. And started just as a constable patrol guy, and worked my way into detachment command, a couple of detachment commands, 3 of them actually, and then had the opportunity to transition out of the RCMP and came on staff here.
Why'd you come here?
Well, I got asked that was probably the biggest drive. Was I was approached by, at that time, Larry Boss.
Yeah.
I guess because of my background, they thought I might be a bit of a fit into the position that was created here. They actually talked to me about 4 years before I actually took the position. They just created the position and asked if I would be interested in taking it, because I had at that point in time had been talking about leaving the RCMP, retiring, and I decided at that time it just wasn't for me. I just didn't feel called to make the transition at that point in time, so I respectfully declined.
Yeah.
4 years later, after someone had been in position for 4 years, the position became available again, and Larry asked me a second time if I was
No, you were serving on the board at the time, weren't you?
At that time, I was on the board, yep.
Yeah. So how long have you been going to KAC for? When did you first get here to Kamloops Church?
Yeah, well, Sandra and I transferred here with the RCMP in 2003.
Wow.
And I came here in charge of the rural detachment at that point in time. And but we had been attending here off and on before that. Sandra's parents lived here in Kamloops, so when we came to visit from out of town, when we went to service, this is where we would come. So we knew when we transferred here in 2003 that this is where we wanted to be. We just felt, just the few times that we'd been here before we actually transferred, that this would be our home church. We just felt so welcome here, and it was just an easy transition for us. So.
And you've seen, that's a long time. You've been part of this family for a super long time. So lots of stories, I'm sure. Lots of things you've dealt with being, congregant and a board member. But you've been on staff for 6 years. Talk to me about that. What's that experience been like for it to be on staff?
Well, it was awesome. As you can imagine, the kind of the environment and culture of the RCMP.
As we've said often, right? Between you and us in your office, right? That very
exactly.
fact.
like just a difference of night and day,
Yeah.
you know, to leave that
Yeah.
world and that environment and that culture to come, you know, and at that time the staff was a little bit smaller than it is today. So it was a pretty significant change for me. I mean, I was Christian and I had those values, but, you know, to be able to live them, you know, more or to a higher degree than you had the opportunity in the RCMP was such a gift. It really was. So, yeah.
And so in the role that you've played in the last 6 years, right? You were saying 6 years. What role have you played? What have you been doing in that time? What is that role that you've been doing? Talk to us about kind of the scope of that and what it involves.
Okay. It kind of morphed over time. You know, when I first came on, when people ask me, you know, and they say, "What do you do?" And you know, I give them my title as Director of Operations, and I tell people I'm basically the office geek. You know, I tell them I don't have a pastoral background, but I was hired, I guess, because of my you know, my experience running a detachment. I do consider administration a spiritual gift that I've been graced with. So I have a little bit of an HR background, a little bit of experience dealing with, you know, any and every type of situation you can imagine, you know, both from a policeman's perspective, but certainly as a supervisor and, you know, in some respects, I guess you'd call it an employer type relationship as well. So, you know, I just had a rounded background and for this position that I came into, it was well suited to that. You know, I just had my fingers on lots of different things that transitioned, although a little bit different environment, but it's the same type of things that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, I know that you sit on the SMT table, which is a weekly meeting of just kind of the senior leaders. And I always find that your input is just so pragmatic and wise, and it's just so beautiful to have you around that table. Because I think you do bring a perspective that is unique from your background and what you've experienced and being on the North Shore and being in a big facility and having people come through and even just the maintenance facility. That's a big scope. There's a lot on your plate when you're navigating that role.
There's lots of things that, you know, I guess I was even surprised when I got into the role and some of the things that we had to deal with here. I didn't expect to have to deal with here in our environment, but you know, and you talk about you know, those experiences and that was just God giving me the tools, you know, setting me up to be able to step into this role and take it on for the period that I did. So
as you look back in your time here, just maybe what are some of the highlights as you've been your time on staff?
Good, bad, or other.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, I've had the pleasure of seeing the staff morph to what it is today. You know, I sat back and thought, I think I am the third longest serving member of the staff here now of 22, 24 people, which I find really interesting. So worked with the whole gamut of pastoral staff, lead pastor, support staff, you know, so the opportunity I've had to work with you know, a whole handful of different people, that's been a blessing for sure. But certainly the staff we have now is, this church is in good hands. It really is.
There's a big milestone coming in a few days. Talk to us about that.
Now it's going to happen. All right, I am retiring after prayerful consideration. It's just time for me to transition into a life of retirement, so to speak. I mean, this has been a great aspect of my life. I wouldn't have given it up for the world, but it's time for me to have some me time and just have some family time. And
well, you've got a new granddaughter.
Yep.
And she needs a granddad. And your kids are heavily involved here. And so even though you're retiring, I'm not sure you really are retiring. You're doing something completely different than what you were doing before.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, some people have said, you know, I'm going to be bored, and I won't. I've got a ton of plans of what I want to do. Certainly some of it is going to spend some quality time with my granddaughter.
Yeah.
I hope to dote on my wife a whole bunch more than I have over the last 40 years. A few things I want to do around the house and the yard. And I don't expect that I will be quiet. And of course, my hope is, and we've certainly talked about that off and on, I'll be back here in a volunteer capacity for sure. We're not going anywhere, and this is where we'll be.
You have a unique perspective. So you've worked in the RCP. You've seen things that most of us have, would never dream of seeing. You've been in leadership in that space. You've been in the public sector in that space. You've been on the board, and you've seen kind of what this church does from a board level, and now you've seen what it's like from a staffing level. So you bring a perspective that's very holistic. It's very broad. It's very ranging. What would you want our congregation to know about staffing, about what happens behind the scenes? Give us a taste of what most of the congregation would never see that you have experienced over your time here. What would you want them to see or know or understand?
Yeah, that's a pretty deep question, and I could probably talk on that for a long time. I don't think people really know the extent to which things happen in the backgrounds. And, one of the things I guess that has disturbed me, over the last few years is comments that we hear, that we're overstaffed. And my comment to people is come and sit in the office for a week and see what happens and see what goes on. There is a lot of things that happen and that take place, and the planning and things that have to get done that people, I don't think, have the foggiest idea about. So, I guess I just want people to know that we've got a wonderful staff. We've got a very dedicated staff. We've got a staff that works very, very hard. And, and that's through from Pastor Chris, our lead pastor, right on down to our support staff. Yeah. There is a lot of work that gets done here on any given week. And I've watched over the years how the programs have developed here, the ministry programs that are rolled out, and things that are done here, even from a community perspective, how we've opened our doors to allow the community and community groups to experience our building, for their needs, and just to allow us as a church to become part of the community. So it's been a pleasure to watch that develop over the years, and that's probably if I have a regret about going, and even though I'm sorry to be leaving in summer. No, let me back up. I'm very happy to be going into retirement. It's been a long time coming and a dream of mine. Yeah. What I will miss is what goes on here, and being a part of that and having my fingers on the pulse of that. That's probably the biggest regret I have about leaving. But again, with my plan to be here in a volunteer capacity, I hope to keep active. Let's put it that way.
You often say that you're a director and you're not a pastor, but you're the director. You're the guy who has an outside perspective. In fact, you said this morning at a meeting we had, and you said, I'm not a pastor. And for anybody listening to this, you pastor really well.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, praise it.
I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah, no kidding. I couldn't hold together. But you pastor extremely well, and you have a pastoral nature, and people confide and talk, and you always have listening ear, and you always have the willingness to listen. And so it's such a gift. It's such a gift that you've been here, and you've become. You're an ally and a friend.
Thank you. I feel the same. Just kind of in response to that, being here has given me the opportunity to be Christ-like. and when we're afforded those opportunities, we have to embrace them.
Yeah.
We're here. Everyone that's here on staff is here for a reason. They're someone that God brought here for a purpose, and we're a church, and we have to remember that. And it doesn't matter if we're a lead pastor or we're the person cleaning the washrooms.
Yeah.
At the end of the week, we are here for a reason and a purpose, and we can never forget that. So I appreciate your comments.
Final question. What can we pray for as you transition into this new season, which is a joyful season? And
Yep.
I watch you with your granddaughter, and you can see the joy, spill out of you. Sandra, she's on staff, but she's full on dedicated and even pursuing some things again, new altogether. Ben and Danielle are here. Like, your family, the Bauhaus legacy is one of, you have a strong legacy in this church and on staff. And so you might be transitioning out, but your family certainly isn't, and the legacy certainly isn't. So I think as we look to the next season of your life, what do we pray for?
Yeah, I guess what I would ask for prayer for me is just to transition well into retirement. I say that I'm going to keep busy, and I expect I will, but that there's always that transition of stepping out of work and having a reason to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and put your lunch together and head out to work, which I won't have anymore. But so for myself personally, that transition goes as well as I hope it will. I look forward to the day that Sandra will be retiring as well. She's full on committed to what she's doing now, and as you talked about, she's got some plans for some education and how she's going to work that into some ministry opportunities.
Yeah.
We got Danielle and Ben here that are, they got their footprints all over the facility here. Our son and daughter-in-law, both heavily involved as volunteers here. We kind of joked over the years with all of us here that we should be changing the name of the church to Bauhaus Kamloops, Bauhaus Alliance Church, but. We love this church as a family. We're all very dedicated to the Lord. Just to keep us involved and just that we keep doing what God calls us to do as a family.
Dennis, thank you for serving so well, for being such a good example. You'll be missed.
Thank you.
We love you, bud.
Appreciate it.
Bye. See you. Come here.
Thanks, man.
All right. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what that's going to look like in the end. All I know is Dennis and I both were trying to hold back our tears, trying to navigate through that conversation. Dennis, one more time, you are loved, you're appreciated, we're going to miss you, and yet at the same time, there's a sweetness to the fact that you're going to be able to retire, spend time with your family, take care of your wife. So Dennis, we love you, we thank you, and we are just so excited for this new stage in life. Awesome. Okay, so let's move to the budget. This is the exciting stuff. And again, we just want full transparency. It's why we do this. We want you to know what's going on. So I will do my best to try and explain what's going on behind the scenes. As always, if you have questions, finance at kac.ca. We just changed our email addresses. By the way, we just changed the email addresses. We also have a new website. So if you'd like to know the new email addresses, just go to our website staff page. We're all listed there. But basically, it's our name, last initial, kac.ca. So finance at kac.ca if you have any more questions. But for right now, we'll just kind of go through the budget and actual. So for the month of August, we had budgeted $153,000. Our actually was $135,000. The total expenses, we were counting on $196,000, and they were actually at $175,000. So basically, we are a little bit lower in what we anticipated to get in for revenue, but we're also lower in expenses. So again, we're just trying to navigate this month over month. We want to be good stewards of it. And so this is one of those things where we just keep an eye on it, and we navigate as time goes on. So what does that put us for the year to date? So for the year to date, we have a total revenue we have budget $304,000. We've actually brought in $275,000. But again, the expenses are budget for $311,000, but they actually came at $281,000. And so we're a bit ahead where we expected in terms of the overall net amount at the bottom. Okay, so when we're talking about the kind of the giving trends, and again, we want to expand this, and over time, you might see some changes here as we bring more information to you. But overall, the budget to giving was the budget giving to general was $233,000. Some of you are going to say, "Hey, wait! You just said it was $275,000." I did, but remember, this total revenue is not just general revenue. General revenue is what is used to keep the lights on, the camera I'm talking to, the internet that we use. That's the general stuff. But there's funds above and beyond that for missions and for Ukraine and things like that. So. For total budget budget giving to general this year, or year to date rather, is $233,000. The actual giving was $219,000. So we're about $14,000 less in giving, which is about 94% of our giving for this year. So again, we continue to monitor this. As things fluctuate, we'll adjust, and we just want to be good stewards of the resources. Church, thank you. Thank you for gauging and for giving. Even this month, I see when we have new givers, we just want to say thank you. And so I've even just been able to say thank you to some new givers and say, appreciate your willingness to link arms with us and to engage in this. So church, thank you for giving to Kingdom Work and for again, coming alongside, partnering with us in this way. Church, if you have any more questions, any more thoughts, anything you'd like to know, feel free to reach out to me, timh@Kamloops Alliance, or KC.ca rather. We are so blessed. I'm so blessed. I talked to the staff this morning just in terms of how fortunate we are, and I am, to be able to serve in this way in church, in the ministry that we do, to come alongside you, to empower you, to be able to lift up leaders in our church, to equip them for ministry gospel work. So church, thank you. We love you, and we'll talk to you next month.